This happened not long ago, just a few weeks back. I was 32 and had just lost my job as a journalist. I decided to go back to my small hometown for a little while to figure things out. It felt familiar, but it was also strange. My town had seen several disappearances over the last decade, and I remembered growing up just down the block. The memories felt warm, but there was something lurking beneath the surface I couldn't shake. I went to the library first, hoping to find stories to write about. As I flipped through old case files, my heart sank. I found a newspaper clipping about a man who vanished nearby, just a couple of blocks from my childhood home. His last known whereabouts were almost in my backyard. A chill ran down my spine. Was it coincidence? Maybe, but I wasn't so sure anymore. Talking to neighbors, I heard unsettling stories. An elderly couple lived next door. They kept to themselves, and whispers filled the air. Shadows were said to dart through the woods at night. A little girl had gone missing years ago. I felt anxious, like I was being drawn into something darker. People warned me to stop asking questions. Part of me wanted to dig deeper, but that unease pushed me to keep going. One afternoon, I met Mrs. Dahlia, my old neighbor. I walked to her porch, my hands clammy. I knocked, and she opened the door slowly, sizing me up with clouded eyes. I asked about the disappearances. She shook her head, saying to leave it alone. "You don't want to know what's out there," she whispered. I felt a shiver run through me. That night, I heard noises from the woods behind my house. I stepped outside, my heart racing. Every rustle felt amplified. Maybe it was just an animal, I thought, but something urged me to look closer. I held a flashlight, but my grip was shaky as I moved toward the tree line. Each step felt heavy. I thought maybe I shouldn't be here at all. Then I saw movement. Something darker than the night shifted between the trees. I froze, my mind racing. Should I run or keep watching? A figure emerged, but before I could process it, it was gone. My palms sweated, and I thought I should have left the past buried. Still, that urge inside me wouldn't let go. As echoes of the past surrounded me, I heard a voice whisper, "Why have you come back?" I turned my head, and to my horror, no one was there. I felt a pit in my stomach. I had to get away from this place, but a strange pull kept me rooted in fear and curiosity. Days passed, and I kept asking questions, even as the whispers grew louder. I thought of leaving, but every shred of information urged me to stay. I was caught in a web I didn't understand. Just then, I heard it again. The voice seemed closer this time. "Why have you come back?" It echoed in the dark. I felt it in my bones. I was not alone. I woke up in the middle of the night, the weight of the past still heavy on me. The voice played on a loop in my mind.
I pulled the covers tighter around me, trying to drown out my racing thoughts. Despite my exhaustion, sleep wouldn't come. I glanced at the clock. It was just past midnight. My heart dropped when I noticed the light from the woods flickering through my window. With a deep breath, I got up and crept to the glass. My pulse quickened as I saw it again. A distant glow, like a lantern swaying. It danced among the trees, teasing me with its elusive presence. I needed to know what it was. The fear inside me warred with my curiosity. I slipped on my shoes and grabbed my flashlight. The ground was cool beneath my feet as I stepped outside. Each blade of grass seemed to whisper secrets I wasn't ready to hear. The night air was thick and quiet, save for the rhythmic chirping of crickets. I stood at the edge of the darkness, where the trees loomed like silent guardians. Tentatively, I walked toward the flickering light. It drew me in, each step igniting a flame of urgency. As I got closer, I noticed it wasn't just a lantern. It looked like a candle, somehow balanced on a rock, surrounded by twisted branches. My stomach churned. Should I touch it? Just as I reached for the candle, I heard it. A laugh. A quiet, haunting sound that wafted through the air like smoke. It felt familiar yet distant. I turned around, shining the flashlight in every direction, my hands shaking. "Hello?" I called out, trying to sound braver than I felt. Silence. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement. A figure slipped behind a tree, blending into the shadows. My breath hitched in my throat. Panic surged through me. Should I run? But my feet wouldn't move. I felt rooted to the spot, a witness to something I didn't understand. The figure reappeared, closer this time. I squinted, trying to make out its shape. A shadow against the night, it stood still, watching me. "Why have you come back?" it whispered again, sending chills racing down my spine. I realized it wasn't just the voice that haunted me. It was the question. Everything in me screamed to leave, to run back home, but I knew that would lead nowhere. I took a step forward, my flashlight catching a glint of something metallic at the figure's feet. That's when I saw it. A small pendant, shimmering in the beam of my light. It looked like the ones I had seen in old photos of the missing girl. My heart pounded as I crouched to get a closer look. Before I could reach for it, the figure vanished into the dark. The flickering candle blew out, and I was plunged into complete darkness. Suddenly the air felt charged, heavy with the weight of untold stories. I backed away, every instinct screaming at me to run. But before I could make a decision, a rustling noise echoed behind me. My heart dropped as I spun around. Someone was there, close enough to hear my gasps. I felt the cold grip of fear settle in my stomach. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice trembling. Silence wrapped around me like a shroud. I turned my flashlight towards the sound, and just as the beam lit up, my heart dropped. There was no one there, just shadows dancing, mocking me. My breath quickened as I fought against the rising panic. I couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was out there, lurking in the dark. I took a cautious step back, hoping to put some distance between me and whatever was hiding, but the rustling continued. It was close, too close. "Show yourself!" I shouted, hating how small my voice sounded. I shined my flashlight towards the sound, the beam trembling in my hands. I expected to see an animal, maybe a deer or a raccoon, but all I found were more shadows, swirling in the undergrowth. Then I heard it again, a soft chuckle, almost like it was taunting me. My knees wobbled as I fought the urge to bolt back home. Instead, I gripped the flashlight tighter and took another hesitant step forward. Maybe it was just the wind playing tricks on me. I wanted to believe that. But as I stepped into the clearing, I froze. The candle was back, lit once more, flickering defiantly in the dark. That's when I noticed the ground around it, the disturbed earth, the marks of something being dragged recently, leading deeper into the woods. Against my better judgment, I moved toward the candle. The air felt thick with anticipation, as if waiting for something to happen. I couldn't ignore it. I felt drawn to it, the flickering light promising answers I desperately wanted. I crouched beside it and reached for the pendant, still glimmering in the phantom light. My heart leapt. This was undeniable proof that the mystery of the missing girl was still alive here. But as I touched it, a sharp chill swept over me. The laughter rang out again, louder this time. It echoed through the trees, twisting into a cacophony that sent shivers of dread through me. "That's enough," I shouted, my voice cracking. I stood up, swinging my flashlight around like a weapon, desperate for some semblance of control. "Whoever you are, just stop." The laughter stopped abruptly, plunging everything into a suffocating silence. I scanned the area, heart racing, but I was met with stillness. Then, a voice, soft and penetrating, came from behind me. "You shouldn't have touched that." I turned around, my stomach twisting. There she was, the girl from the photos, standing in the moonlight, her face pallid and expressionless. I was paralyzed, unable to scream, unable to run. All I could manage was a whisper. "Who are you?" "Why did you come back?" she asked in that same haunting tone, every word resonating within me. My breath hitched as reality rushed back. I remembered the stories, the whispered conversations among neighbors, the search parties sweeping the woods. I had to get out of here. I could feel the shadows closing in, creeping toward me, fueled by my fear and confusion. Just as I turned to flee, something cold touched my shoulder.
Panic tightened its grip, and I spun around, ready to confront whatever waited behind me. But as the figure emerged from the dark, I realized I wasn't just confronting a ghost from the past. I was confronting my own choices. I took a step back, feeling the weight of all that was left unsaid. I didn't mean to... But before I could finish, she leaned closer, and everything went black again. I gasped, pulling back as the darkness enveloped me. My heart thudded loudly in my ears, drowning out every sensible thought. Just moments before, I had been standing in front of her, desperate for answers. Now there was only black. I couldn't see, couldn't feel the ground beneath my feet. Suddenly, the world shifted, and I was standing back in the clearing, candle flickering steadily, nothing out of the ordinary. I blinked, disoriented. Was it a dream? But the air crackled with tension, as if everything was still charged from the encounter.
I glanced around, half expecting her to jump out from behind a tree, but there was only silence. I tried to shake off the confusion. I had to figure out what was happening. The pendant was still glowing softly, its ethereal light beckoning me. What did it mean? I bent down to grab it, feeling that strange pulse of energy. This time, I wasn't going to let fear control me. As I reached for it, the ground shifted again. A low growl rumbled in the distance, a deep and menacing warning that sent chills racing down my spine. I dropped the pendant, backing away. This was definitely not a place for lingering. Then I heard the sound again, clearer this time. Footsteps, heavy ones. They crunched through the underbrush, coming closer. I turned to run, but my legs felt heavy, like I was standing in molasses. I had to move. With a surge of adrenaline, I sprinted toward the path I followed earlier. I didn't look back, focusing solely on the sound of the leaves and twigs snapping underfoot. But as I ran, the laughter returned, echoing behind me, filling the air with dread. "Why did you come back?" The girl's voice rang out again, sounding impossibly close, as if she were right beside me. I stumbled, almost losing my footing. "I didn't want to," I shouted back, wishing my voice could reach her wherever she was. The truth hit me hard. I had to confront this, whatever horror awaited me. I reached the edge of the clearing, heart racing. The trees loomed like ghosts, shadows stretching toward me as if to pull me back. The laughter was now mixed with whispers, dozens of voices overlaying each other, creating a sinister symphony that entrapped my senses. I felt like I was on the brink of something unimaginable. That's when I saw it, something glistening in the light of the moon, half buried under fallen leaves. I approached cautiously, shaking off the dread gripping my heart. It was a locket, tarnished, but still hinting at beauty.
I picked it up, and as I did, a wave of memories crashed over me. Faces, names, and unspoken fears from the town, all rushing back. Suddenly, I realized it wasn't just about her. It was so much more. I clutched the locket tightly, breathless with sudden knowledge. But the footsteps were closer now, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whoever, or whatever, was behind me wasn't going to let me leave the woods without answering the questions that had brought me here. I had found a piece of the puzzle, but it seemed the biggest mystery was still waiting to unfold. And as I glanced back over my shoulder, I saw a shadow detach itself from the trees, eyes glowing with an eerie light. I took off running, fear surging through me. Whatever secrets the night held, I could no longer avoid them. The forest loomed like a dark wall behind me as I hurtled through the underbrush. I could hear my own ragged breaths, quick and sharp. Fear propelled me forward, each step pounding hard against the earth. The shadow was still there, trailing in the depths of the trees, just out of sight. I had to get out. I couldn't stay here. But as I sprinted, my mind raced. The locket felt unusually warm in my pocket, a reminder of all the questions I had. Who did it belong to? What were those memories I suddenly felt connected to? Then, just ahead, I saw a break in the trees. Light spilled out, guiding me like a beacon. I dashed toward it, the footfalls behind me still echoing. My fingers brushed against branches that clawed at my skin as I pushed through. I burst into the clearing, gasping for air. It was the same clearing from before, but this time it felt different. The energy here was thick and heavy, like electricity that made my hair stand on end. The candle I had left burning flickered violently, casting strange shadows that twisted and turned, making my heart race again. I glanced around. There was no sign of the shadow, or the girl who had haunted me with her laughter. But the air was colder now, and the whispers felt louder, filling my ears with an unsettling chant. I wanted to call out to the girl, to demand answers, but the words caught in my throat. Then I noticed something in the ground where the candle was. A small circle, etched into the dirt, pulsated with light, a mark of some kind. The pendant in my pocket softened its glow, which began to match the rhythm of the symbol. Instinct told me to stay back, but curiosity drew me closer. I knelt and traced the outline with my fingers, feeling warmth beneath my touch. Suddenly everything went still, like the world held its breath. I felt a familiar sensation wash over me again, the pull of memories. But this time the memories weren't just chaotic images. They formed into shapes, faces blending together. A boy's laughter echoed, and then fading screams filled the silence. I stumbled back as realization crashed into me. I wasn't the first person to be drawn into this place. Just as I processed this, movement caught my eye. I looked up. Into my horror, the shadow emerged from the trees, more defined now. It was a figure cloaked in darkness, with eyes that pierced the gloom. I felt rooted to the ground, fear penning me down like anchors. "Why do you disturb this place?" the figure rasped, voice low and haunting. I opened my mouth, but no words came. All I could do was stare, captivated and terrified. What had I stumbled upon? The temperature dropped, and I felt icy fingers of dread creep up my spine. My heart raced as I realized I had walked right into the center of something much larger than I could have ever imagined. As the candles flickered and the mark shone brighter, I saw the figure step closer. Something flashed in its hand, a glint of metal that caught my attention. I shifted, preparing to run again, but desperation clawed at my insides. I needed to understand. Everything pointed to the truth buried in this dark forest. I took a deep breath, forcing my legs to move, ready to confront whatever awaited me in the shadows. But before I made a decision, the figure raised the glinting object, and a chilling question pierced the air. "Do you want to know what happened to them?" With dread pooling in my stomach, I realized this was just the beginning. The figure stepped closer, and I felt the shadows press in tighter around me. My instincts screamed at me to turn and run, but something tethered me to the spot, urging me to listen. "What happened to them?" I finally managed to whisper, my voice barely breaking the silence. Silence hung between us, thick and suffocating. The figure raised its hand higher, revealing a tarnished blade that caught the dying light of the flickering candle. They were taken by the forest. I swallowed hard, feeling bile rise in my throat. "Who were they?" I asked, my voice catching on the last syllable. "Curious, aren't you?" A low laugh escaped the figure, echoing eerily among the trees. "You seek the truth, yet you stand in a place where few dare enter. Why do you think you were drawn here?" I felt exposed, as if the darkness around me were peeling back layers I never wanted to reveal. I thought of the memories swirling in my mind, the faces of the children I now realized I knew nothing about. Were they the missing? Were they connected to me? "What do you want from me?" I asked, desperation creeping into my words. The figure lowered the blade until it pointed toward the ground. "You hold a key, but it is not the locket that burns against your skin. It is your past." Just then, the ground beneath me trembled, and the mark I'd traced pulsed violently, sending shockwaves through my body. I had felt this power before, during the fleeting visions of laughter and screams. I realized the circle was no ordinary symbol. It was a gateway. "Leave now, or embrace what comes next," the figure warned, its eyes glowing fiercely. Panic coursed through me. What if leaving now meant forsaking the answers I desperately sought? But staying could lead to danger I couldn't fathom. In the split second that followed, I had to make a choice. I remembered the covert whispers I had heard since arriving in the forest. They throbbed in my ears again, urging me to stay. My heart raced, caught between curiosity and fear. "Please, I just want to know what happened," I stammered, voice shaking. For a moment, there was a flicker of something in the figure's gaze, perhaps pity, or something darker. "Then know this," it said, raising the blade again. "To uncover the truth, you must sacrifice your ignorance." A gust of wind rustled the leaves, cloaking me in a sudden chill. Before I could react, the figure lunged forward. I barely had time to think. I stumbled back, heart pounding, and my foot caught on the edge of the circle. I fell to the ground, and everything went dark. I gasped, the air around me thick and suffocating as shadows closed in. I was plunged into a thick darkness, feeling the pull of the forest deeper than before. Then, without warning, fragments of light began to swirl around me. Faces flashed in the darkness, their eyes pleading, as if trapped in eternal limbo. I heard their laughter again, tinged with a sadness that sent shards of ice through my veins. "Help us," a voice whispered, familiar yet piercingly distant, pulling at the tendrils of my memory. "Help us escape." That was when I knew
I had stepped into something far darker than I ever imagined. Suddenly, everything felt real. The shadows were not just creatures lurking in the night. They were filled with histories, cries for help echoing through the trees. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came. Panic took hold of me as I realized the forest was not just a place, it was a trap, an entanglement of lost souls that I could no longer ignore. And deep down, I felt a new responsibility weighing on me as the light flickered again. I had to find a way to save them. I had to uncover the truth. But at what cost? The darkness twisted around me, suffocating and oppressive. I tried to focus on the flickering lights, but they darted away like frightened fireflies, refusing to settle long enough for me to understand. Their pleas echoed, weaving through my mind, growing louder and blurring the lines between my reality and whatever lay beyond. "Help us," the whispers intensified. It felt as if they were rising from the very earth beneath me. I couldn't tell if they came from the shadows or from deep within my own thoughts. As fear gripped my chest, I struggled to hold on to the idea that I could help them, but I had no idea how. I pushed myself to stand, feeling the ground pulse with an unsettling energy at my feet. My mind raced, grappling with the danger of what I had plunged into. "Stay focused," I muttered to myself, searching for clarity. "What do you want?" Just then, something shifted in the shadows.
A figure emerged, familiar yet obscured. I squinted against the dim light, hoping to recognize who or what it was. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice shaky but determined. The figure stepped closer, revealing a child's face. My heart dropped as recognition washed over me. "Emma?" I breathed, reaching out. She was one of the missing, a name that had haunted our small town for years. "Help me," she whispered, her voice hollow as it drifted through the void. I felt the weight of her gaze, pleading and desperate. "Please, don't let it take me too." Tears threatened to spill down my cheeks as I searched for words. "I want to help. How do I get you out?" "Find the key," she urged, her form flickering like a candle's flame. "It's lost in the memories of the forest." With those words, she began to fade, her face becoming more indistinct. My heart raced as I reached out in vain. "No, Emma?" But she was gone, leaving only a cold emptiness behind. Panic surged anew within me. What memories? What key? The walls of the forest seemed to close in tighter, shadows shifting around me, whispering some forbidden truth. In that disorienting moment, I glanced down and noticed an old, weathered journal lying at my feet. I had missed it in the chaos, its pages slightly torn and crumpled. As I picked it up, the scent of damp earth and fading hope wafted through the air. I opened it to find sketches of the forest, drawn in frantic strokes. My heart raced again, for in the margins were names I recognized from news articles about the missing, Emmas and others too. "What does this mean?" I spoke aloud to no one in particular, flipping through the pages hungrily. My fingers brushed against a drawing of the circle where I had found myself, scratched into the earth with an urgency that mirrored my own. Then, right there at the bottom of the page, a phrase in jagged letters stood out. "The past holds the key." I felt dread seep into my bones. What had I unearthed? Just as I was beginning to understand, a horrid laugh erupted around me. It was low and mocking, and I knew at once the figure was near. I spun around, heart pounding. "Show yourself." But just as the shadows began to coalesce again, darkness erupted into light. I stumbled backwards, the journal flying from my hands as the world shifted beneath me, tearing at the fabric of my reality. That was when everything truly unraveled. I braced myself, knowing that the answers I sought were now deeper within the darkness than I had ever dared to go. The light around me flickered and morphed, revealing a path that twisted into the shadows. It felt alive, like the forest itself was breathing. I stumbled forward, desperate to piece together Emma's message. I glanced around, trying to spot any sign of the journal, but it was gone, swallowed by the thickening darkness. "Stay calm," I whispered to myself, though my heart pounded harder. Other children were out there, trapped like Emma. I couldn't leave them behind. The chill in the air wrapped tightly around me like a vice. I took a cautious step forward, straining to listen. The whispers were still there, a cacophony of anguish. It felt like they were all around me, each voice urging me to hurry. There was no map, no guide, just me in the forest, with its roots snaking through the ground like fingers dragging me down.
I needed to find the memories Emma mentioned. But how? In that moment, a sudden movement caught my eye. To my right, a flicker of flame sparked to life, a tiny fire illuminating a small clearing. I felt drawn to it, hopeful that it might hold some answers. I approached carefully, half expecting the shadowy figure to reappear. As I reached the clearing, the sight left me breathless. There, sitting in the center of the flames, was a tree stump covered in strange carvings. Each one was a symbol, a memory of those who had vanished. Emma's name was there, carved deep, along with a date I recognized, a day the townspeople had tried to search. I knelt beside it, tracing the grooves with my fingers. What was this place? A shrine, maybe. But as I read the names, a realization struck me. These weren't just memories. They were markers, each one a clue to what had happened. Then a large shape emerged from the shadows. My stomach dropped. It wasn't just the figure I feared. It was larger, menacing. "You should not be here," came a voice, low and rattling as it echoed through the trees. I scrambled back, my heart racing. "I'm not afraid of you," I shouted, though my voice wavered. The figure stepped into the light, revealing itself. It was a twisted version of a man, features contorted with malice. "Who gives you the right to disturb our resting place?" It advanced slowly, each step heavy, like the weight of fate. "I'm just trying to help," I yelled, surprising myself with my own defiance. "Emma needs me." The figure froze, a flicker of recognition crossing its darkened face. "You seek the key," it growled, taking another step toward me. "But some truths are not meant to be uncovered." That was when I noticed a shimmering object appearing behind it, half hidden in the underbrush. A key, with more details than I had ever seen on a key before. My breath caught in my throat. Could this really be what I needed? Before I could think further, the creature lunged. I darted to the side, adrenaline coursing through me. The shadows grew thicker around us, making it hard to navigate, but I had to get that key, whatever it was. As I reached for it, the ground beneath me shifted again, and suddenly I was falling into a dark pit, the screams of the lost echoing around me. The key slipped from my grasp just as I lost sight of everything above. The only thing I felt now was the darkness closing in, ready to engulf me whole. Then, just before I lost consciousness, a whisper echoed in my mind. "You must remember." I awoke with a start, gasping for air.
The darkness pressed in around me, but it felt different now. Thicker, heavier, like a blanket that wrapped around me. I blinked, trying to make sense of where I was. The pit I had fallen into was now a cavern, dimly lit by glowing fungi that clung to the walls. The air was humid, damp, and filled with a musty odor. I pushed myself up, wincing at the ache in my limbs. I was alone, but the whispers remained. They were softer now, almost soothing, like a lullaby drifting through the air. I shivered at the thought of what they meant. I had to find a way out, and back to Emma. Panic surged within me again. Where was the key, the one that could help her? I scrambled to my feet, glancing around the cavern. The sound of dripping water echoed off the walls, and the faint glow gave me just enough light to see. I searched the ground, my heart racing. The key had to be here somewhere. That's when I noticed something glinting near the edge of a nearby puddle. I rushed over, my heart pounding in my chest. As I got closer, I saw that it wasn't just the key. It was a small charm shaped like a tear top. I picked it up, studying its intricate design. It felt warm in my hand, almost alive. "What is this?" I murmured, puzzled. It didn't match the key I had seen before. I could feel its weight, like it was holding secrets of its own. Suddenly, I heard rustling from deeper within the cave. My heart seized again. Was it the creature that had chased me? I looked at the charm, and then back to the sound. I had to defend myself, but would this little piece truly help? Cautiously, I moved toward the noise, every step echoing loudly in the silence. The whispers grew louder, almost urgent. I could hear bits of fragmented voices. "Help me. The door. Remember." Then, as I turned a corner, I found myself in a larger chamber. Dread seeped into my bones as I spotted a figure hunched over in the corner, its back facing me. It was another person, but I couldn't see their face. My stomach twisted. Was it a child? "Emma?" I called, my voice breaking. No answer. The figure turned slightly,
and my heart raced even faster. I took a cautious step forward, my eyes narrowing to see better in the dim light. That's when I saw it. Symbols carved into the cave walls, just like the stump outside. The names were there again, tangled with twisting vines. But other names were scattered among them, names I recognized from the town. This was no ordinary cave. "Help me," the voice echoed softly from the figure, and my breath hitched. I felt a flicker of hope, but it was mixed with confusion. Who was trapped here? I stepped closer, compelled by the plea. The figure turned fully, revealing a child's face, ghostly pale and etched with fear. I knew this child, one of Emma's friends. "Please," the child whimpered, pointing down to the ground beneath him. "The truth is hidden. You must find it." Panic washed over me again. I had to leave this cavern and uncover the truth.
Something bigger was at stake here, and time was running out. I felt the charm pulse in my hand, as if urging me forward. "Wait!" I yelled, but the child's form began to fade, blending back into the shadows of the cave. "No! Come back!" But it was too late. Just as I was about to sprint after them, the cave trembled, the walls shifting with a menacing growl. The whispers turned frenzied, and the sound of cracking echoed all around me. I had to make a choice. Either I could risk everything to chase the fading figure, or investigate what was hidden beneath the ground at my feet. Which held the key to Emma's safety? I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders as the stony ground began to crack open, and I realized I had mere seconds to decide. I took a deep breath and chose. I raced toward the crack in the ground, heart pounding as I channeled all my fear into action. The whispers crescendoed around me, louder and more chaotic, urging me to uncover whatever secrets lay hidden beneath. Every instinct screamed that I was running out of time. As I reached the fissure, I caught a glimpse of something glimmering in the darkness below. Another key? The thought spurred me on, and without hesitation, I knelt down and reached into the crack. The air was thick and ancient, pulsing with the histories of those who had come before. My fingers brushed against something cold and solid, and I curled my hand around it. Whatever it was felt heavy with significance. I pulled it up, squinting to see it in the dim light of the cavern. It was a small key, tarnished but intricately designed, adorned with strange, familiar symbols. My heart raced as I realized it was the key I had seen before. It held the power to connect me with everything lost. But just as I stood up, the ground trembled violently, and the darkness surged around me. I had to think fast. Emma. I had come here to save Emma. Clutching the key tightly, I turned to where the child had vanished into the shadows. "Emma," I called, desperation pouring into my voice. "I'm coming." I sprinted forward, the whispers growing more frenzied, creating a haunting melody of longing and despair. With each step, I felt the weight of lost souls urging me on, the echoes of their pain intertwining with my own determination. I refused to let fear paralyze me now. The cavern twisted around me, but I moved swiftly, guided by the glow of the key in my hand. As I reached the other side of the chamber, I found myself before a stone door, covered in the same intricate symbols as the key. My stomach churned with anticipation and dread. Was this the gateway back to the light, or deeper into the forest's dark secrets? I hesitated, glancing back at the shadows pooling behind me. Was the lurking darkness waiting to swallow me whole, or was it something more than that, the keeper of the truth, a being holding the answers I desperately sought? With a resolve that surprised me, I stepped forward and pressed the key into the lock.
It fit perfectly, as if made just for this moment. I felt a pulse of energy shoot through my body as the door began to creak open, revealing an ethereal light beyond. Hope ignited within me. But just as I stepped through the threshold, a voice rasped from the void. "You cannot escape what you have awakened. Your memories are entwined with theirs." I faltered for a split second, but the light beckoned me, drenching my fear in warmth. I had to trust in the connection I felt. I couldn't leave Emma behind. I leaped forward, enveloped in brilliance as I crossed the threshold, the weight of countless souls crashing against me like a tide. A sudden rush of images flashed before me, joy, laughter, screams, and then darkness. I gasped as the memories swirled together, more than just the children's, moments from my own past, ties that held me in this place of uncertainty. And there, woven amid the memories, was Emma's smiling face. She was alive, somehow still holding on to hope. "Keep going." The echo of her voice rang in my head. Just then I felt the shadows clawing at me, frantically trying to pull me back. Panic bubbled to the surface, but as I focused on Emma, the warmth of the light surged stronger, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. I held tight to the key, feeling its power reinvigorating me. "Help us," the whispers urged, echoing through the chamber and blending with the memories swirling around me. I understood then. I wasn't just here to save Emma. I was here to confront the pain, to face the past and the darkness, a toll that demanded I not only find the key, but accept the truth. I stepped fully into the light as the echoes sharpened. Everything around me shifted. The cavern dissolved, replaced by the familiar woods I had wandered into, but they were alive with color and vibrancy, unlike the dark shadows that had embraced me before. I stood in the clearing, heart racing, but the weight of the past no longer pressed against my chest. The cries from the shadows faded, replaced by a gentle breeze that whispered through the trees, urging me forward. But the questions lingered. Was Emma safe? How many souls were left behind in the depths of the forest? As I turned to leave the woods, taking one last look back, I felt their gaze still on me, a haunting reminder of the unresolved agony waiting to be uncovered. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if the echoes have faded completely, or if the forest still waits, breathing secrets into the night. But mostly, I try not to think about it.